Hello everybody, it is Badger Wild and we are back with another Space Engineers tutorial video. Yes, today we're going back to the tutorials. I got time to work on some stuff and figure out some things that I usually do. And today I'm going to show you guys something that I do in my bases. If you are building a base in Space Engineers and you want to be hyper efficient and you want to build a base that just works very well, one thing you've got to learn is how to get your piping in order. And today I'm going to show you what a efficient piping system should look like inside of your base or even inside of your ship. So behind me here, we have this neat little circuit. And this is not a blueprint that you should just sit by. You should look at it as a circuitry pattern, like when you're building electronics or something. In this case, it's a circuitry system that works with how your resources are managed with inside of your base. Now I'll show you how this works. Everything's color coded so you guys can look at this. I may even put this up on the Steam Workshop so you guys can come in, take a look at it, and get an idea of what is going on in it. Anyway, starting at the first point we have here, white. This is our import. Okay, this is where all our fresh ores and everything that's fresh goes in. You're going to want this as far from your storage as possible, but you are going to want your production here in blue right in between your storage and this, for very simple reasons, and I'll explain those as we go on. Because as you can see here, this yellow conveyor line going through here shows you the pathway that your resources are going to go based on what they are. So you can have power here at the front. Power can be put anywhere along this because it doesn't. And the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of this stuff requires storage. And there is this one problem with your ports, your connectors on both ends, getting filled up with resources. Because sometimes when this reaches its birthing point, sometimes you'll have one of these chests here, one of these cargo containers. When they get filled up, a lot of times they'll just push all of your inventory to the nearest available inventory space. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is turning our not conveyors, is trying to avoid turning our connectors into the next available port. We want all of that, we want all of this stuff that we want to put into these things to end up over here. Or not over here. Anything that we put into the system has to end up here in these cargo containers or in this green storage area. And like I said, the way you do this is by creating as long a circuit as possible. Now this also shows where you can place stuff. Personally, I like to put all of my production stuff, my refineries, my assemblers, all that stuff, H2O2 generators. I like to have all of that as maybe the first or second point in the chain, so that any materials coming in will automatically be filtered into these two areas. My ice will automatically go into the hydrogen O2 generators. My ores will automatically go into the refinery and begin building and pumping out stuff right and left. Now, the next, as also in this chain, I would like to have my assembler in here as well, because if the assembler is in the same area of this chain, it's not going to be pumping materials out there. It'll pump it into this area. And you got to remember, however many blocks you put between, you'll notice this right here, right now. We have in the chain 4 conveyor tubes to the nearest cargo container. However, to this over here, we have 5 tubes, or almost 6 tubes, which means this cargo container is going to be filled up, and probably this one, before stuff starts getting stored in here. And this is just to keep overflow from clogging up. And you're sitting there, you build some products, and you're like, wait a minute, where did all my stuff go? Tells you. The reason why I also like it to be second to this is anything that you're putting in between this connector in comparison to where these cargo units are, you don't have to worry about all that coming back in. So the more of the power you can put in between there, the better. And then you have this getting in between. But what you want is you want this, your production, to be as close to your cargo containers as possible. Because what happens in Space Engineers, like I said, Space Engineers systems will begin to push things. If you don't have conveyor sorters in, it will start grabbing stuff and putting it into the nearest available empty cargo space. And unfortunately, your connectors, your welders, those also count as cargo space. So you have to worry about that stuff because it'll start trying to put that stuff in there and connect it all up. So when you put it all in there and keep everything connected, you want to keep these as far away as possible, far away from the two ends as possible, while still allowing everything to go in. Your O2, H2 generators, they hold something specific. You're not going to be putting O2, H2 in anything else, and that'll automatically be distributed throughout the base, so you can put them anywhere. Now for your outgoing systems, you can have your vents anywhere. I should have put them out there. You can have those vents anywhere in this daisy chain, anywhere you want. But like I said, you want those to be an outward point. Your welders, you probably want them about as far away. You can still have your power generator anywhere in the base because it uses a specific resource. But this other conveyor here has to be here at the longest end of the chain, and the reason is you want it as far away from the refinery as possible. Another thing you'll notice is how this thing is set up. You'll notice the conveyor comes off the first cargo container, then goes up to the second. We have another elbow showing how it will come around. Normally I'd have a space there disconnecting both of them. And then that would go into this cargo container. Now, for those wondering, how is that so different? Well, the total number of conveyors here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You've got 11 cargo containers reaching these. If you start having backup in here, it is not going to start backing up into this area. In fact, you can also daisy chain a bit more of this stuff and create more pipes. But what happens is, this conveyor, when deciding where to put, when all the stuff goes in, and you can put if you were to put like a sorter in here, it would almost still push stuff out and it would kind of push around a bit. And I've had that happen before where even when the sorter system got backed up, it would start putting it into a connector at the very end. It's maybe a bug, maybe something, I don't know. I've just figured out how to solve it without too much issue. So you've got 10 conveyors going that way. But when this cargo container gets full, it goes, well, the next closest one is right here. It's only 2 conveyors away. We can pump it into this one. Then you go up here, you've got 4 of these. So from here, you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this, because these 2 cargo containers are slapped together, that would actually count as a negative. So it would just go 1, 2, 3, and it would still be filling these up in unison or in chain. So that enables you to build your base. Now, is this how you should build your bases? No, don't build it exactly like this. This is just a circuit. It's a guide to help you figure out how to build your bases and how to make them work. You want as many conveyors between your entry point and your refinery as possible, and you want as few conveyors between your production and your storage as possible. You also want your output area, i.e. your welders, your outward connector, where you want to plug in and grab some stuff out or something like that, or maybe your ships, if you want to have a welding ship here that plugs in. You want this to be the very opposite end. What you could do is you could run this conveyor system and then run it all the way around your entire system back to this circuit and not connect it to the main circuit area. And then you would have all this extra room, and your refinery systems would still have just barely enough room to get over to these cargo containers and then set them up to where they can be built upon. You can actually set this up to where cargo containers can be built, and I'd suggest building them in some type of daisy chain. Leave like one space in between them, and then try to chain your cargo containers so that as stuff goes in, it fills one cargo container at a time as it goes on through the circuit so that it doesn't fill up. Because one thing that happens also, if I were to have 6 cargo containers here, I had 2 in the middle and 2 on each side, and this was close enough, this would probably start filling the first 2. But once I started going up to 8 or 9 or 10 cargo containers, the ones on the outside would not be getting hit because it would be more efficient for the system to just pump everything through to the cargo. And then this connector right here would just constantly would be being filled up, and there's no way I could put stuff in it. It would cause all kinds of headache, and I would have materials going in there before it would start filling the rest of it up. So you have to remember, in Space Engineers, your system is going to fill, whether it's ore being dropped, whether it's components being built, the system is going to fill the nearest cargo container. If anything can go into another component or a unit or a piece of equipment that's inside of your chain, that's the first one it's going to go to, is the closest. This includes your connectors. It includes um, collection systems, ejectors. It's going to send it wherever the closest is, and you don't want anything going into an ejector and the ejector saying, yep, check that out. So that just concludes this little video on how this chain system works. I hope it helps you guys out, just helping y'all get those streamlined bases going so you can build your entire base, set it up in such a way where you're just filling up all of your containers and you don't have to worry. It also helps in that when if you've got a ship with cargo on it and you plug it up in, this also prevents the overfill from suddenly being shoved into your ship. So if there's an overfill in production and you're running low on space and you don't realize it, and you plug your mining ship up with 4 or 5 containers, suddenly you look in, you've got components filling up your mining ship systems, and you're like, wait, why is this happening? Where are all this junk coming in out of nowhere? There's an overflow issue you have to solve. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it gave you a very good idea on how to build your bases. And like I said, this is just a basic structural outline as how your base should run. It's just a basic circuit. You can build upon this, you can add upon it, you can add more cargo containers, more tubes, more entry ports, everything that you want to do. But like I said, this is just a guideline. That's all it is. It's like a circuitry guideline. How you get there and what you build afterward, that's entirely up to you. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, this is Badger Wild saying stay safe, stay frosty, and I am signing out.